Hello, my fellow YouTubers. My name is Dr. DM.
And I'm Uncle N.
And today we're bringing you yet another campaign diary for Chronicles of Frostfire. This is a series where you can watch them all individually, because really what we're going to do is dissect parts of the arcs of the whole campaign and show you what was interesting about them, what you can use, what can inspire you, and what you can take from them. Use them in your own games. And today we're going to talk about the Blood Isles arc.
Yes.
Okay.
Finally get to hang out with a bunch of dragons who aren't trying to kill us.
Yeah, which just happened, right? They just had this fight with Imrith, and Taki shows up and tells them, let's go to the Blood Isles arcs. The Blood Isles, the ancient dragon kind of homeland. Yeah. I took the Blood Isles from an old AD&D compendium. It was the Council of Worms, I think, that's what it was called. And again, I like to throw in like old, cool, like lore stuff that's been around for a long time. And I was like, hey, I'm going to incorporate that into the game because it's good for my player, right, John, who's a dragon, and everyone seems to want to do this. So I was like, let's do it. So I did a deep dive through that lore, and I brought it into 5th edition as best as I could with some shenanigans. So
yeah, I mean, all the important parts were more RP versus stats. So
point.
If you're trying to just use lore and stuff, and you're in a kind of a little bit more loose framing like our game, where we're not like, oh, we have to follow these books exactly or else, then you can bring in old stuff like that. It's not going to hurt things as long as you're not contradicting things you've done in your own story. Yeah,
which is the most important part. Yeah, I do like Rule of Cool a lot. So, as you know.
Yes.
So, okay. On the way, just very briefly, to the Blood Isles, you stop by. You have to. They had to find the conch of teleportation to get to Maelstrom, where Imrith was. So I had a whole fight plan with the Storm Giant. With the Frost Giant Lord. And tell me what happened, Uncle.
We decided we didn't feel like fighting a bunch of giants, so we're just gonna set fire to their building and steal the conch while they're distracted.
And that great. And there was a whole like heist thing where it was, Vahera and was strapped Basil to her flying seat.
Yeah, just flew out with the conch.
And
bucket.
And Raswar was just doing a Tempest, anyway, get all the giants' attention and all this stuff. And just grabbed it, we're out. I'm like, oh, okay. And they jump back on Taki's back and they go to the Blood Isle. So
yep. Back on the ship and away we go. And
no ship this time. The ship is destroyed.
Oh, that's right. The ship's down. We're just having used Taki.
Yeah, you're on top of the dragon's back. So, all right, you get to the Blood Isles, and were you scared or anything? You were in a place with all giants. Oh my god, with all dragons. I do that all the time.
No, honestly, the description we had of the city is like the city of gold and gems.
Yeah.
Everything is made out of gold and gems. There's dragons just chilling everywhere. Guys walking around their demi-human forms, chilling in their dragon forms on rooftops.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, oh, your characters just showed up in Dragon Vegas.
It was
just wow.
Yeah, wow. Fear and Loathing Las Vegas. So it was really interesting. And I think I think some people were scared at first.
But definitely some of the characters more nervous than others.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just a cool place to be, and I think we were all like, oh, this is really epic.
It really was. It really was.
Not to mention, we just got done dealing with our good dragon friend being killed by an evil dragon. All of a sudden, hey, there's a bunch of evil dragons over there. There's a bunch of good dragons over there.
That's right.
Nobody's killing each other. Nobody's eating us.
Because under the concordance of Io, which is let's say the father of all the dragons in a way, even of Bahamut and Tiamat, all dragons have to live in harmony, basically. And
while they're on the side.
Yeah, while on the side at least. When they're not, they don't give two shits. So, so here everything, at least on the surface level, looked like they were all getting along. Mm-hmm. We'll find out maybe later that's not the case. Remember with the whole council?
Yeah.
So they figure out that Taki, Enialis' childhood friend, in the most anime way possible, knows basically the speaker of the house, if you will, of the Council of Worms.
Knows, as in, that's the uncle.
Oh, yeah, that's the uncle, yeah. And so she's able to get an audience with the Grand Custodian, and to get them, hopefully, an audience with the Council of Worms, because they want to find out, about John, about Vex, about everything that's been going down.
Yeah, figure out a way to deal with Imrith as well.
Yeah,
Imrith trying to get Vex back.
Good point.
Also grilling me on who I am and if I'm
Taki. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. How did he know? How did he know you two were kind of like a thing?
I'm pretty sure Taki told him.
No, yeah, that's true. He's like, this is my friend, or something. I don't know. So yeah, I forgot about it. It was like close the door and I was like,
Close the door
like,
and sit down.
like sweating pits or whatever, and yeah, so
like the anime thing, just sweat drops pouring down.
Right. Or that I've seen this Key and Peele sketch where he's like sweating a lot or whatever. It's like okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
So so they eventually are told that the council is currently in talks because they're trying to figure out the situation with the rise of who.
We don't know at that point.
Right.
They're talking about something important.
The
rise of Tiamat is what they're discussing.
Yeah, the rise of Tiamat, that's right.
We just know that they're trying to discuss something that's kind of a big emergency that has all of the dragons up in arms, and they don't want to talk to us just right now.
That's right. So they have to
We're
get
not cool enough.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for the reminder. So they have to get a special representation ticket. I don't know exactly. Long story short, they have to participate and win in the challenge of Claw and Wing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is it's from the original AD&D supplement. Really, these combats that generally they're not to the death, but they can be. But in this case, we're not. They're more like kind of gladiatory arena stuff, or more like American Gladiators.
Yeah, but it's team on team instead of all of us crappy not dragons against one dragon. No.
Yeah,
this is actually a team battle kind of thing. So
yeah. So they ended up meeting the opposing team, which was like the reigning champions. It was kind of like a football thing. I think I posted it's like a, there's different teams or whatever. Either way,
or soccer,
and I remember,
rugby.
Yeah, soccer, rugby.
Yeah.
And the head of this team was Venom Viper or something like that, right? he was just like stupid, sexy, hot.
Way too hot. Kept distracting Taki.
Oh yeah. And I forgot about that. Yeah, it was to throw a little bit of that tension for you guys. And yeah, but I described him, and everyone's like, oh my god, this guy's like super hot, or I don't remember, or something like that. And so yeah, they ended up fighting against him, and they went to the arena the next day, and they all kind of lifted up into the air, and it was a combat encounter.
Yeah, and there was restrictions on that if I recall. Like
what was it? No spells.
It was all physical combat.
All physical combat.
I think John had to figure out how to deal with that.
Oh, he ended up
all got special weapons for it.
Oh yeah, and remember who gave you a special weapon for that? Cabbage Guy.
Oh God, Cabbage Guy.
So if anybody's seen Avatar, you've seen Avatar, right?
I've watched all
Okay,
this.
So there's this. I'm gonna get all thumbs down here, but I've not seen Avatar. I've seen. Great, now this video gets buried in obscurity. No, but I love Avatar, like the concept, the world, the lore. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And actually, we want to play like the new RPG that's coming out. But there's this cabbage merchant Avatar, and I had no. It's not that I didn't know about it per se, but I wasn't really even thinking about it. But
everybody else in the game, all of the players were immediately thinking about it.
Yeah, except for Raswar, I think. Yeah. Although he probably knew the meme.
Yeah.
So I had Bahamut appear, but Bahamut came as Fizban, right? Which is from the Dragonlance books. He's kind of like this airhead, old wizard kind of fella, and he had his typical canaries,
the cookie professor kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just had him having like a vegetable card because I was like, oh, what do dragons not have in their diets? Like vegetables, right? And they're like, oh, this is the cabbage guy from Avatar. Meat. I was like, this is the cabbage guy from Avatar.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, I just went with it. It was cool. Yeah. It was actually really funny.
We're all waiting for his poor cabbage cart to get wrecked by somebody.
And you guys said that, and then I freaking did it. I was like, it's some dragon kid goes around and knocks over his car. I was like, there, you happy? And so, so they ended up meeting Bahamut. They didn't know it was Bahamut, but eventually was at the end it was realized that it was and so Bahamut's kind of guiding them a little bit
pretty far in the future at that point, but
and also Bahamut ends up being Raswar's Raswar's two dads, Tempest and Bahamut, not in the way you think. It's more like a blood and scales fusion thing. So so Bahamut shows up to them and it's the one who's kind of helping them along and gives them these weapons to use for the tournament because they can't use their tournament was pretty cool.
We have to have the special weapons for the tournament. They had to approve like one weapon for each of us.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so they had, this is pretty cool because the players had to think outside of their own stated abilities because they couldn't use a lot of them. So you had to be very inventive and figure out like positioning and what do I use.
Especially for the casters.
Oh, that's true.
Used to relying on their spells and suddenly they're like, oh, now I'm a fighter.
Oh, that's true. What did you still had your bow, right?
Yeah, I at that point I was starting to realize Enialis has had this development over the course of this whole 5+ years we've actually been playing these characters of this whole melee monk thing isn't working nearly as well against dragons and giants as it was against, people-size opponents. And I don't like getting pancaked by giants, so, I started moving towards using ki with ranged weapons, and then that developed further in the future.
Yeah.
At this point, I was already into the bow thing.
So because I think the caveat was that you couldn't use anything of metal. I think it had to be like bone or like organic material. So I think Raswar ended up using like a ham bone he had or something like that, or I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
And Amalia ended up getting from Bahamut from Fizban like 2 dual thunder boomerangs. She's like, which I think was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty epic.
So I like giving people like overly stupidly powerful subs. It's just like, I don't know. I guess I'm bad, but I'll tune the encounters appropriately anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like any of our encounters have been a cakewalk.
No, I love deadly encounters.
Yeah,
well.
CRs that are at least double what they should be for a party size.
Like, I will make you suffer. But they always pull through. I'm like, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Not that I'm trying to kill the players, but I wanted to be challenged.
Yeah.
So, sweat a little bit. And really think about all their abilities, think about their teamwork, and do that. So they did that. They won. They got an audience with the council. And that was pretty cool, because the council, I think it was a little terrifying. And you all had to give your kind of your piece, right? You talked about John and Amalia, and you kind of I had you.
They were kind of our speakers for a lot of it, because they kind of made representatives come up. So John and Amalia were kind of speaking for most of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, we all kind of were contributing to what did we want to ask? Because they
good
gave
point.
us limited opportunities to talk about stuff.
Well, the council was busy with the TMS
yeah.
situation.
So, I mean...
They were annoyed that they had to talk to you in the first place.
Yeah.
That's because you're a huge...
Us petty mortal races.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, like, we're like, okay, we gotta find out how do we get Vex back.
And you got that, right? They gave you a way to bring her back. With Order 67.
Yeah, our solution was, we'll just trade an Imrith for a Vex. We're totally down with that.
I forgot about that. I'm like, trade a dragon soul for a dragon soul. It seems fair enough. Yeah. And they were like, and the council's like, and the council's like, where are you going to get a dragon soul? And they're like, well, it just so happens an evil dragon floating around, and
we're kind of planning on killing her anyway.
And they're like, yeah, that's cool, okay.
Yeah.
Because she's been messing with everything, and she, it turns out, was, the idea is that she'd been kind of been helping Tiamat, but they didn't really talk about that too much. But they were cool with that.
We didn't really know what her background motivation was at that point. We just know she was wrecking the giants and screwing with everything.
Yeah, and then Raswar was like, also, I want to recruit all the dragons for our side. And I was like, do all these checks. And he's like, I do all these checks. And I say this epic speech. I'm like, okay.
So now we're talking about going to war with an army of dragons.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Not going over evenly through the council.
Oh, no, you're right. I think I made it pretty evident that, of course, you have your chromatic dragons and your metallic dragons and the gem dragons kind of in between. Chromatic dragons are by nature good, and the thank you. And the metallics are good, and the chromatic dragons were not kind of having a lot of it.
Yeah,
but they kind of had to make peace.
Booing and hissing.
Yeah, and even though a lot of them tried to voice opinions, and other people were like, I don't know if you noticed, but there was some point where one of the young upstarts was like wanted to say a bunch of shit about this, when one of the kind of like the elder chromatic dragons was like, no, announce at the time, like, don't give away our position, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening is at the end, because the main thread here was that John was trying to figure out, he wanted to unshackle, he wanted to become who he actually was. He wanted to be a dragon. He's a dragon. Yeah. He's been stuck in...
Become his true form.
Yeah. He's been stuck in a human form because the council shackled him because he was like a hybrid dragon and like a...
Yeah, he was kind of...
Like abomination, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're not supposed to be both the good and the evil side together with both of their powers.
Yeah.
Like,
and I really had to dig into that because it's not impossible to do for D&D. It's very unusual, and they are kind of like bastards or something in a way. Mm-hmm. So I really played with that, and John had to really fight for being unshackled.
Yeah.
And Amalia fought with him, and I had all the other players kind of dramatically leave the table because it was just them.
Yep.
For this last part, and they were talking with the council, and they ended up making. He had a couple like 20 charisma checks.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. I really
nailed
wasn't.
It on that.
He did. I wasn't sure where I was going to go with it. I wasn't sure if I was ready to give him the whole dragon power. But they convinced the council. At least the council were that they could convince, because it ended up being, they of course got all the metallic dragons to vote for them, and most of the gem dragons, all they needed was like a majority, not like a super majority, just regular majority.
Yeah.
So they got that, and so he was unshackled. And
politics.
Yeah, right. And so he had this cool, like, he had to speak in Draconic. It was really awesome. And he got unshackled, and that's kind of it for the Blood Isles.
Yeah, that was basically it, other than Basil did meet a new boyfriend.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
That was adorable.
Yeah, they went to the club and everything. It was like a young, like, dragon, kind of hipster boy.
Yeah.
That was fun. And then I think Basil got his number.
Yeah.
Or sending Stone or whatever.
Yeah. They've been in communication since.
Yeah, so that was really cool.
And
that was just some random NPC. A random NPC, and I was like, and I was like, who's around here? I'm like, oh, it's this couple young, it's this young, good-looking dragon. And I was like, he's like, okay. And he went up and talked to him, and I was like, okay, what's this? Okay, this is young dragon. He's a little bit awkward, and so I played it off real quick. And she was like, oh, what's your name? And I was like, I don't remember, but I just kind of did some whatever, Anyway, so it's important to always have like NPC stuff ready to go, because who knows? And they might be really important, or that
now our young dragon friend is a fairly important side character at this point.
Sure. He's a good one. All right, well, this has been the Blood Isles arc. I think next time we'll talk about Maelstrom, and that's going to be like a little bit of a Shawshank Redemption, like prison breakout thing. So that's something cool for your campaign. So hopefully you enjoyed this and you learned something new. Thank you very much for watching.
Smite that like button.
Leave us a comment if you liked any of these things, or if you want to give us ideas or share other ideas, with other viewers.
And definitely subscribe.
Do the subscribe.
Yes.
So important.
Aside from all the main campaign, you get a lot of this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the cool stuff too.
This is fucking cool stuff.
Yeah.
All right, wait. Thank you for watching. See ya.